Welcome back. Now, this morning we're launching the Christmas appeal for Mustard Seed Communities. It's a charity which cares for abandoned children in developing countries, providing them with a better future.
They are hoping to raise some much-needed funds to sustain and rebuild Sophie's Place, which is just one of the 13 homes run by the communities in Jamaica. And we're delighted now to be joined by Monsignor Gregory Ramkissoon, the founder of Mustard Seed Communities, and two Irish teenagers, Daniel and Sarah, who both volunteered with the charity. You are all very welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Monsignor, we'll just start with you. Tell us a bit more about Mustard Seed Communities, about the work that they do and about how these children come to be in their care.
Well, you know, we started about 40 years ago opposite in a squatting area opposite the University Hospital where I was teaching at the university. But the bottom line is a lot of these kids were just found in the streets, you know. People leave them on the gully sides. We found one in the garbage dump, in the hospital corridors and so, and there was no place for them. So we thought that some students and myself thought, look, let's get a little place, and that's how we started.
And why would those children have been abandoned?
Well, in many cases, the mom, maybe a teenage mom, she couldn't manage it, or her baby father, as we say in Jamaica, said, oh, I don't want to be taking care of this child. And a lot of cases, in any case, they couldn't afford it because children with disabilities need special care for all kinds of stuff, and it couldn't be afforded.
We have this, and it's naive, I suppose, because there's appalling poverty in every part of the world, but we have this impression of the Caribbean and Jamaica in particular as being very idyllic and very sunny, and everybody, you know, listens to reggae music and has a great time, etc., etc. But if you know anything about the history of Kingston, it's one of the most violent cities on the planet.
It has been, yes.
And there's incredible poverty there. There's a huge gap between those who have and those who don't.
Absolutely. The minimum wage, you know, for those who have work, many don't have any work at all. It's about 32,000 Jamaican dollars a month, which is less than about $250 for the month. But the cost of living is still high. And then you have the other Jamaica, we call it two Jamaicas, the more tourist-like areas, the resorts, they call them all-inclusive because the people stay there and they get everything they need. But there is abject poverty in many, many parts of Jamaica, yes.
And is there no state support for these families or these children?
Well, the state also is in a problem. So Mustard Seed, for instance, only get about 19 to 20% of its overall budget from the state. And, you know, you ask for more, well, we can't provide you. In fact, it is why, in many cases, when these children are left at hospitals and so, nobody look after them. Before I left about a week ago, they asked me to take 16 kids that they found scattered all over the place, 1 year to 7 years old, all
and
disabled.
What would happen, 1 year to 7 years of age? What would happen to those children?
Oh, my God, that is the problem. They will die in many cases. No food, no exercise, nothing, no medicine in many cases. So, you know, you just have to do it, basically. And you can't keep them for a year or 5 years. Like Sophie's Place, an Irish volunteer bought that property for us way back. You can't give a kid food for 3 years and forget about them. We have to help these children.
And Gregory, given that these children start so badly in life,
yes.
I'm talking about the poverty and all the rest of it, but because of their disabilities and whatever, you can't just take them up to the age of majority, 16, 18. These are going to require care for the rest of their lives, aren't they?
From womb to tomb, as I say. You can't put them out when they reach 18, all the way to children's home. So we are building a village now to put these kids. Before, they used to put them in the asylum. If they find them on the streets, they put them in the madhouse. We took about 40 kids from the asylum because they were there, they were showering them with hoses naked, just throw them like animals.
So how does Jamaican society view these children? Do they have a very benign, compassionate attitude to them, but they just don't have the resources to take care of them themselves, or do they see them as outcasts?
All right. At first, before, we had to tint our glasses in the vehicles because they teased them. Do all kinds of stuff with them. In fact, that's why they were abandoned in the first place. They had no positive notion about them. However, in the last 20 years, I would say we have got a lot of help in Jamaica. The ordinary poor Jamaican caregivers, they're the ones who bring these children forward because they're the ones who care a lot. But the attitude is changing slowly. Even with our children with HIV/AIDS, the kids couldn't go to school because they will tease them and they will run them out. So there are problems like that we are facing.
Sarah, it was October of last year, wasn't it, that yourself and Daniel travelled over to Jamaica. What was your first impression?
Well, when I first got there, I wasn't expecting what I seen. Like, I thought it'd be a lot more poverty, like, in the actual building. But when you get there, like, these kids are so well looked after for, like, what they have. And they're all so happy. They're the happiest people I've ever come across in my whole life. And when you give them affection, they just completely come out of their shell. And every single person there has such a personality and everything. They're just amazing people.
Were you apprehensive before you went over?
Well, I was very... When I was travelling to Jamaica, all I've been seeing was pictures of Sophie's place, and I was like, oh, this looks like such a great place. But then when I got there, obviously, Sophie's place is very welcoming, but the way the kids lived there, it was frightening for me, and I think for the rest of us. Like, it definitely isn't what we expected of, you know, them, and yeah.
Frightening in what way?
Like, how severely disabled they were. They're very well looked after, you know, like, it's great to see that, but yeah, like, they're very...
But the truth is that the reason they're there is because they were abandoned.
Yeah.
And that's something that you couldn't comprehend. You can't imagine your family doing that to you or that happening to people in this country.
No, it's absolutely horrible when you think about it, but the care that they're given just makes them so happy to be themselves, and you see that, like, when you're interacting with them, you know, it's just great being there.
Did you find it hard to understand, given the circumstances that they are in, that even the tiniest little bit of affection with them, something that you might take for granted, like a kind word, is something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, I think part of the mustard seed trip, it really does teach kids like us to be grateful for the little things, you know, and that is one of the examples shown. Like, you meet a lot of kids, but you remember their reaction for every last hug you gave, and, you know, they'll remember that for the rest of their lives, as you said.
Were you also conscious, Sarah, that there were the children who are being cared for in Sophie's place, but for every child probably that's in Sophie's place, there's another child who needs to get the same care and attention and perhaps isn't getting it?
Yeah, like, you kind of... The thing about mustard seed is, like, you think that the loud people, like, the louder children in there, like, would be the centre of attention, but the aunties are so good with them. Like, every single person there, they know their personalities, they know what they like, they know every little thing about them. They're their family, and they call them aunties. They call their carers aunties because they're their family, and you know that, like, they care so much about them and that they know them. But yeah, I suppose there is a lot of more kids who need it, and if we get the funds, then... But Monsignor would never turn away any child. No. So any child that needs it.
What kind of stuff do you do when you're there?
Well,
because you're doing this as part of a TY year, yeah? Yeah, so I mean, if somebody is looking at this going, I think I'd like to do something like this, what, give them an idea of what happens when you get there.
Well, basically, a daily thing that we would do, we'd wake up in Sophie's place and we'd go down and feed the kids there. We'd do a lot of interacting with the kids in Sophie's place. Then we would be taken to a different community. For example, there's a different community in Jamaica called Jerusalem. It's a great place. There's lots of houses there. There's schools, churches, you know, it's a great place. So we went there and we built a drainage system. Like, this is the first time I'd ever seen anything like it. They just, you know, said, go on, go ahead, and we had to mix our own cement. We had to place it ourselves. Like, it was such a good experience.
This
like,
wasn't a holiday?
No, it was...
Yeah. Get your hands dirty.
Yeah. Like, so, something like that.
Was that a bit of a shock?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like, I was kind of nervous, you know, in case I messed up, but, you know, it was great the way they just gave us things, let us do our own thing.
We're talking here, Monsignor, about Sophie's Place, and it does sound like a wonderful place for these children, but it needs work. It could be improved, and for work you need funds, and that's what this appeal is about this morning.
Yes, and when we built this about 25 years ago, we built it out of wood. And in these countries where the heat and the humidity is so high, the wood will start giving way to termites and the plumbing. And, you know, I did it, cheap. I didn't have the money. And now the poor kids, in each cottage, we have to rebuild it, put up concrete blocks, and the kids have to have a little more room to interact, and they're getting bigger. So I badly need the help. I have nowhere to turn, really, because remember, we have 13 homes, 470 kids. These are only 24. And then with these new 16 kids I have to take on, I have to make a little room extra for them, So we need the help. It's about 30 or 40,000 US dollars. I think that's about 25,000 euros to get one cottage going. And if we could start, and we have 3 or 4 cottages, and then, of course, you have to maintain these kids. Food is a big problem. And these medicines are so expensive. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of time I borrow money to buy the food and the medicine, because you have to do it, You can't take a kid and maintain them. I don't like that. You have to bring them up properly and feed them properly. And so that's why every penny helps. Every drop in the bucket allows the bucket not to drop.
Well, listen, we're getting on board with you, and we will be going out with you in February.
Okay.
And we're going to join you on that trip. We're going to film it, and we're going to show people exactly what's happening, and exactly the kind of work that's done, and exactly the size of the task and the need.
Wow.
But if people this morning want to get involved, text mustard seed to 50300 to donate €4, and Mustard Seed Ireland will receive a minimum of $3.60. I think those details were up on the screen there. Thank you so much for coming into us this morning, and enjoy the next trip.
See you.
Thank you very, very much.